This is my review of The Old Curiosity Shop by Charles Dickens. This was originally published in Dickens Weekly magazine, and it was published in 45 issues between 1840 to 1841. Then at the end of 1841, he got all the different issues and he turned it into this novel. So it was originally serialized, and that's how it reads. It reads like a series of short adventures, short little stories within it that all have the same characters running through it. So this is about a 14-year-old girl called Nell. She lives with her grandfather in her grandfather's old curiosity shop, but they're very poor and they're absolutely destitute because her grandfather keeps gambling away their money. She does have a brother, but he doesn't live with them, and he is convinced that they're not as poor as her grandfather makes out and that they have some great fortune that they're hiding from him. But in reality, they are incredibly poor. Her grandfather has taken out loads of loans from this villainous character called Quilp, and it gets to the point where every night her grandfather is going out to get himself into more and more debt because he's addicted to gambling, leaving poor Nell by herself alone in the curiosity shop, and then Quilp just takes the shop from them because they have no other means of paying him back. And they are trapped within the curiosity shop. Really, they become property of Quilp, that somehow they've got to pay him back, but they don't know how to. So Nell one night says to her grandfather, "We are prisoners here, let's just leave. In the middle of the night, let's become beggars. Because even if we get out of London, go to the countryside and become beggars, that would be a better life for us, sleeping in fields, sleeping under the stars, than living prisoners in Quilp's house. Like, let's just leave." So they do. So they run away. And then it turns into the adventures of the people they meet along the way. So they meet people who are begging in various different ways. So there's someone who is doing the Punch and Judy show and they're begging that way. Someone on stilts, a circus, someone who has dressed all their dogs up. You can see that on the front cover. Dressed their dogs up in human clothes, and that's their kind of gimmick to make money. They then meet a woman called Miss Yardley, and she actually has a waxwork show and she employs them to work with her on the show. And they meet various people. They go to a village, they meet a lovely schoolmaster who looks after them for a while, and they're living in different inns. And then there is also another story running throughout it that Quilp is trying to track them down because he sees them as his property. They owe him money, so he needs to find them. You then have Nell's brother has convinced his friend that if you marry Nell, you'll get her fortune. Even though Nell doesn't have a fortune, her brother is convinced that she does. So he's trying to get his friend to find Nell so he can marry her. You then have Kit. Kit was employed by Nell's grandfather in the old curiosity shop, but obviously they have run away now. So Kit has no money. He's living with his mother. His father has died. He has younger siblings to support as well. And then he does come into his fortune and he ends up working for someone. So it follows Kit's story within it. And then later on in the story, it really turns into Mr. Swidler, who works with Quilp, gets employment at the solicitors, which are called the Brasses. They're a brother and sister, and he's working for them. And then throughout the whole thing, you're still worried that Nell and her grandfather are going to be found at some point, and they're just going place to place, trying desperately not to be found. There were real horror elements within it. Like there's one bit where Nell is asleep in her bed, and then somebody comes in and scuttles like a creature on the floor, and it's like something from a horror film, takes her money, scuttles out. And she thinks, thank God they didn't kill me. What was that creature, that thing, that evil person that came in? It was her grandfather. She goes to his room and he's counting out her money. And obviously he has taken her money so he can gamble it. He's just always thinking about gambling the money. And even when they're on the road and they're earning an honest living, he's still gambling their money away at any opportunity that he has. There then is a mysterious lodger who, where Mr. Swindler is working, the lodger takes the room above the solicitors, and then he says he is looking for Nell and her grandfather, which everyone finds very bizarre. How would he know them? And then he talks to various beggars, so someone who did the Punch and Judy show, who did at one point meet Nell and her grandfather. And so he's trying to track them down by these different begging people to find out, well, where are they now? Because I desperately need to find them. I need to find them. I'm not going to say what happens at the end of the story because I don't want to ruin it, but I did think it was perfect. I thought the ending was perfect and realistic in everything that happened. I thought it should have ended at chapter 72. Chapter 73 is really winding up everyone's stories, and I didn't need that. I didn't need that perfect ending. I think actually the perfect ending would have been chapter 72, the the story's done. I think that would have been actually ideal for the whole story. I loved Miss Yardley so much. I loved Kit's mother so much within it as well. And I think it's chapter 25, when Kit comes into his fortune and he takes Barbara, who's a maid where he's working, Barbara's mother, Kit's mother and Kit's siblings to the theatre. And then afterwards they go out for oysters. And it's nothing the older two women have ever experienced. Their children are working, like one of them's a maid and then Kit's like a handyman, and so they're not from wealth, and all of a sudden they get this magical, beautiful day that they never would have expected, to go to the theatre and have oysters all paid for by Kit. And it's just such a beautiful day within it. It is also very much about the class system, that if you're lower class, no one really believes you. So someone says something about Kit, and because they're of a higher class, higher education than him, they're just believed. And that's it, even though there isn't any actual evidence that it was Kit. I loved the Marchioness as well. That is Mr. Swidler. When he's working at the solicitors, he notices that they have a maid, but the maid is only allowed to stay in the kitchen. And he notices how horrible Sally Brass is to the maid, beats her, is terrible to her. And so then he just starts spending time with the maid, and he says, I don't know what to call you because you don't have a name, you don't know how old you are, I'm going to call you the Marchioness. And then when he becomes desperately ill, he wakes up from his bed and the Marchioness has run away from the Brasses to actually save his life and bring him back from sickness, because he showed her such kindness by sitting downstairs with her and ordering her beer and allowing her to play cards with him. She then has returned the favour to him and run away to make sure he doesn't die, because she's found out he's sick and no one's looking after him. So she brings him back to health. Such a beautiful moment there when he opens his bed curtain, looks out and sees her there, and she is the one who has saved him. She is the one that has saved his life within the story. I thought everyone's end was perfect. I thought Quip's end was perfect. Nell and her grandfather, what happened there, I thought that was perfect. A great chapter as well is the one with the schoolmaster. So they see a schoolmaster, and I loved how they were talking about all the kids would rather be anywhere but sat in the schoolhouse having to listen to this. Outside is kind of taunting them because it's such a sunny day, it's such an amazing day to run out in the fields, and yet they're stuck in the school. I thought everything that played out in that chapter was very touching as well. I really enjoyed this book. I didn't enjoy it start to finish. I did get a little bit bored. So after the schoolmaster bit, when it's very heavy on the Brasses and Quip, I wasn't that interested in it. Even though I understand it for the story, I felt some of that could have really been trimmed down, and I just didn't love those moments. So then I turned to audiobook to get through the book. This book took me over a month. I started it January 1st, and I didn't finish it till February 14th, and that was every day reading a bit of the book. I just couldn't really get through some of it. Some of it just felt quite pointless to the story. It was quite rambly, and it was rambling around to other things that I wasn't that interested in, to be perfectly honest with you. I thought I'd be able to read this book in a month, but I couldn't. It took me obviously longer. It took me a month and a half to actually get through the book. But some of it for me was boring, and I could have, there's a lot in this that isn't to the central storyline, and that I wasn't massively in love with. I mean, this book has over 543 pages, so it's a beast of a read. So even though it did fall flat for me, nearer the end, it fell a little bit flat for me, and I couldn't really get the pacing, and I wasn't that interested in it. By the end, when I got to the end bits, I felt that it really picked up, and I really wanted to know, are they going to find Nell and her grandfather, or Nell and her grandfather always going to be wanderers on the road? What's going to happen with them? And then when everything unfolded at the end, I thought it was done geniusly, absolutely perfect, and I would reread this book. And when I was reading it, I was thinking I'll probably never reread this book again. From Dickens, I've read Great Expectations, and I really want to reread Great Expectations because I loved it so much. And I thought probably this won't be a book I'll reread. And then when I finished the book, I thought this is definitely going to be a book that I one day reread, because it's just such an epic story. My favourite bits within it were Nell and her grandfather, were them meeting different people in inns, and where they're going to find to stay the night, and there's a thunderstorm and they're caught out of it, or here's a local pub, their lights are on, let's run to the pub, and hopefully they'll have some hot stew for us and a bed for us for the night. Everything with that I just loved. They're wandering, they're traveling. Nell's hope throughout the whole entire book that everything's going to be okay. Even when her grandfather is incredibly down about the whole situation, she is still pushing them on with her pure hope within it. You then had just great characters, like Miss Yardley was just such a laugh, loved her. Kit's mother was so just and nice. I really loved her as well. I wanted Kit to do well within it as well. And then when he met Barbara, I was like, oh yes. So I would say that I did really enjoy Charles Dickens' The Old Curiosity Shop. I didn't love every single chapter within it. There's over 70 chapters. There's 73 chapters within this book. But looking at it as like a complete body of work, yes, I did like it. I also tabbed moments within it that I just thought were so beautiful. And then I wrote at the back chapters that I wanted to go back to because I loved those chapters so much. And I loved a bit about grief, about the blankness of grief, how that's the real weight when someone's gone. Just beautiful Dickens moments of just great, talking about the human condition in great detail. I just thought was so beautiful. So I myself did really enjoy The Old Curiosity Shop by Charles Dickens. I'm very happy that I did read this. I'm now going to read out your reviews that you sent me because I chose this book for Tay Book Club for January for us to read it together. So now I'm going to read out what you thought of the book. I have a review from Lauren James. My curiosity of Dickens' old shop has been satiated. I have to be honest that I did not think I would have enjoyed it half as much if I read it rather than listened to Jessie Buckley's performance. Her voices for the wide range of colourful characters and turn of phrase had me hooting out with laughter many a time. She brought unparalleled energy and verve to her reading of it. As to the text itself, it is always vital with Dickens to keep in mind the serialised nature of his works and go with the flow. 100% yes. Because if you're reading it, expecting it to be like a novel, you know, like beginning, middle, end, no, not at all. It's going to go off in loads of odd little tangents that don't really play a lot to do with the main storyline of it. But because it was serialised, he obviously had to eke it out for the serialisation of it. And so it is going to go on these different winding roads. So it's not really like reading a novel, even though now it is in novel format. So I 100% agree with that. The Old Curiosity Shop was a wonderfully atmospheric and timely relevant choice for January's read. I admire Dickens' depiction of debt and poverty at the time when Victorian society saw penury as a moral failing. The themes of grief and particularly dementia I found to be visceral and touching, unforgettable and a great one to tick off the TBR. Thanks, Hannah. Fantastic review. I love that review so much. Yeah, it's interesting that it was about like obviously his gambling, his debt, which would have been seen as very immoral at the time, but it really put a sympathetic air onto it. And also how he's losing his mind, he's becoming very forgetful and they don't have a word for it. Like we obviously have the word like dementia or Alzheimer's, you'd may be able to know, but with him, like there isn't a word back then, but obviously they still had that condition. So she's just very scared by it because she doesn't know what's going on with him and she wants him to remember himself, but in many ways he can't. And it's almost like his mind has gone very off track at certain points within it. I loved your review. Thank you so much, Lauren. I also had 2 other people that read the book but didn't finish it yet. And so tell me your reviews when you do read it. If you have read it, leave me your reviews down below. I'd love to talk to more people about it. I do think on reflection, Dickens for a month read is too much. It's too big a book to really get done in 1 month. Like we've all got our lives to lead. It is too difficult to have like a hefty book like that over 500 pages in a month. No. So the rest of the year though, I don't think I have any other books like that. They are like around the 300 page mark or shorter than that. So hopefully more of you will be able to join in with those books if you want to. March's book club pick is Alice in Wonderland. Don't. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to reread Alice in Wonderland. But I read it for the first time in 2014 and I don't remember loving it. I think I thought it was nonsense. I didn't really get it. So it'll be interesting now 10 years on, more than 10 years on, to see if my opinions on it have changed, because I love Alice in Wonderland quotes from the Lewis and Carroll book. Whenever I read a quote, I just love it so much, and so I think on the reread I will actually love it. So I'm going to end this video here. Thank you so much, Lauren, for reading along with me, and the other two that read along but just didn't manage to finish it. I hope you finish it, because the ending is fabulous. It is fantastic. It is worth it. It does ramble off, and your like attention is like, oh, I have to just try to get through this chapter. Maybe it's certain chapters, but it is all worth it in the end. So I hope you do finish The Old Curiosity Shop. Tell me if you have read it, what you think about it. And I'm going to end this video here. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you again soon for another video.